Each day, millions of dollars flow across borders as people send cash to loved ones in far-flung places. UK-based startup TransferWise is promising to save you money when you send money overseas by using a peer-to-peer transfer system. And it's attracted some high-profile investors, such as Sir Richard Branson, former Citigroup CEO Vikram Pandit, and PayPal founder Peter Thiel. Here with more details is Joe Cross, TransferWise's head of North America. Joe, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you, Tanya. Pleasure to be here.
Tell us how TransferWise works exactly and how you guys can save me the fees I would normally pay to a bank.
Sure. So, I mean, as you pointed out, the problem we're solving is the issue that is the fee that it is charged people when they're moving money from one country to another. And the fee, most people know there's a fee, but what most people at large are unaware of is the poor exchange rates that they're actually paying. So the banks are basically double dipping on your money when you send it abroad.
So they're making money off of giving you a bad exchange rate and they're charging you.
Exactly, and many people are completely unaware of how bad the exchange rates are. So a typical bank will be charging 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10% to move money overseas. Absolutely huge, and people are unaware of it. So what we're doing at TransferWise is building a global platform which brings that cost all the way down. So our prices are near 1%, 0.5% in some cases.
And you can afford to do that because of scale?
So a couple of things. So I mean, one of our two founders actually was the first employee of Skype. And Skype is a great analogy. And Skype took a market, international calling, which was inflated, huge, unfair on the customer, and they disrupted it completely by dropping that price all the way down to as low as possible, in their case free.
Right.
And it's partly scale, but also what we have is we actually genuinely believe that banks don't need to charge as much as they do, and a lot of it is just unfair profiteering, basically.
Right. So a minimal amount of revenue can bankroll, because you've got to make money somehow, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So one thing is the fact that we come at the market with a very clear mission, which is to drop the price down as low as it can go. And then the second thing, as you pointed out, we have a peer-to-peer model under the hood.
Right.
And basically the way it works is if you're sending money from the US to the UK, we'll match you up with transactions going in the other direction. So the dollars actually stay in the US, the pounds, for example, stay in the UK. So we actually bypass all the fees associated with the old network.
All right, well, that explains it. Okay, so what kind of money are we talking about? How much money goes across borders every day? So
on TransferWise now, our customers are transferring 750 million every month on the platform.
Amazing. And what is the global, looking at the global picture, how much money goes across borders?
It's a huge market, trillions and trillions. I mean, the bank revenue associated with this market of individuals and small businesses is about $200 billion globally.
So you just need a little, you just need to get a little part of it and keep it growing.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's big numbers now. We have customers in more than 50 countries.
Right. So more than 50 countries, and you've recently added an important one, correct?
China, Mexico, some of the biggest markets now coming on. Yeah. So within the US, our customers have transferred about $2 billion so far just in the last year.
Right. Which I love, of course, by your model. They don't actually transfer it; they just match it up, which is one of the ways you save money in the fees. So where do you see the bank industry in general going now that there are so many apps and mobile applications people can use?
Sure. I mean, there's a whole host of fintech companies. It's actually a really exciting space. You know, our brothers and sisters in Common Bond, Wealthfront, and those other kind of companies. What we're all doing is we're taking one small piece of what was bundled up into the bank that we all love to hate.
Right.
And we're just saying, look, there's a much better way of doing that. So unbundle it. Apply a tech-first approach. Ultimately, it's about democratizing all these markets that the banks have basically had the power in for many decades.
Now, what about security? I mean, people always want to know when moving money across borders, security is a big issue. How do you guys approach that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, fintech is it's very highly regulated, and that's actually a very good thing. I mean, we're not a photo-sharing app. We're an app that, it takes people's money. It's a very, it's a big deal. So obviously, we take security very seriously, and there's a whole host of regulations that we adhere to.
Absolutely. And so also considering that each country has different rules and regulations surrounding how much money can leave its country at a given day, how do you keep track of all of that?
Well, that's one of the fun things in building a lot of fintech companies are domestic, actually, but we're one of the few which is, we're taking an approach which is let's build a global platform. So for sure, every country has its own quirks and there's its own regulations. But as I say, we have the best people in the world on that, and it's something we take very seriously. So it just depends on the specifics of each market.
Of course. And recently, of course, China was in the news about wanting to stop certain amounts of money that were leaving the country. They were worried about wealthy Chinese taking too much abroad. Does that disrupt any of your operations when something like that happens?
No, I mean, that's just a great example of there being a local regulation that we have to work with, basically.
Right, so you work your way around it.
Yeah.
Joe Cross, fascinating. Thank you so much for talking to us.